Doha is one of those cities that looks like it's racing into the future. Glass towers rising from the desert, massive infrastructure projects still under construction, luxury hotels along the waterfront, and highways that connect new districts almost like they appeared overnight. From a distance, it feels like pure success. A city built fast, clean, and modern. And in many ways, that impression is correct. Doha has transformed at an extraordinary speed, becoming a global hub for business, aviation, and tourism. But like any rapidly growing city, there's more happening underneath the surface than what first appears in travel videos or skyline shots. The boom is real, but the full experience is more layered, more complex, and sometimes very different from what visitors expect. Here's a closer look at Doha today, starting from 10 down to 1. 10. A city that transformed in record time. One of the first things you notice about Doha is how quickly it changed. What used to be a much smaller, quieter coastal city has turned into a modern capital, with global influence in a very short span of time. Entire districts, roads, and skylines have been developed within a couple of decades. That speed is impressive, but it also creates a strange feeling in some areas. Like the city was built in layers rather than slowly evolving over generations. For visitors, this fast transformation is part of what makes Doha visually striking, but also slightly different from older global cities that feel more settled. 9. The skyline is still not finished. Doha's skyline is already famous. Tall glass buildings, modern architecture, and waterfront developments that reflect light across the bay. But unlike cities where skylines feel complete, Doha still feels like it's being built in real time. Cranes are still visible in multiple districts, and new towers continue to appear. This creates a unique experience. The city you see today might not look exactly the same in a few years. It's constantly evolving, and that sense of unfinished growth is part of its identity. 8. Extreme climate shapes the entire experience. Doha's heat is not just a weather detail, it's a lifestyle factor. For much of the year, especially in summer, temperatures become extremely high. This changes how people move, work, and socialize. Outdoor spaces become less practical during peak hours, and daily life naturally shifts indoors. That's why malls, hotels, museums, and air-conditioned environments play such a central role in the city. To many visitors, Doha feels like a city of interiors as much as exteriors. 7. Luxury is visible but carefully concentrated. Doha has a strong luxury identity. High-end hotels, waterfront properties, designer shopping centers, and upscale dining are all part of the city's image. For tourists, this is often the most visible side of Doha, and it leaves a strong impression. Everything feels polished, modern, and carefully maintained. But this luxury is not spread evenly across the entire city. It is concentrated in specific districts and areas designed for business, tourism, and international visitors. Outside those zones, the city feels more practical and everyday in nature. 6. Different areas feel like different worlds. One of the most interesting things about Doha is how quickly the atmosphere changes depending on which district you are in. Some parts of the city feel extremely modern, with tall glass skyscrapers, luxury hotels, and waterfront developments that look like they belong in a futuristic design. Just a short drive away, other areas feel more residential and grounded, where daily life moves at a slower, more practical pace. This contrast is not random. It is part of how the city is structured and functions. There is no single uniform vibe across Doha. Instead, the identity of the city shifts from one area to another. Visitors who stay only in tourist districts often experience just the most polished and visually striking version of the city. 5. Everything is carefully planned and organized. Doha is a city built with strong planning at its core. The roads are wide, infrastructure is modern, and systems are designed to function with efficiency and clarity. As a result, visitors often notice how clean, structured, and predictable the environment feels. Things usually work smoothly, and there is a clear sense of order in how the city operates. However, this level of planning also means the city feels very controlled and intentionally designed. Unlike older cities that evolved naturally over centuries with narrow streets and irregular layouts, Doha feels more like a long-term master plan that has been carefully executed step by step. It gives the city a polished and organized identity, but also a more uniform and less chaotic urban experience overall. 4. A highly international population. One of the most defining but often overlooked aspects of Doha is its population diversity. A large percentage of people living and working in the city are expatriates from many different countries. They contribute to nearly every sector, including construction, hospitality, transport, healthcare, education, and business. This creates a highly multicultural environment where multiple languages, traditions, and cultural influences exist side by side. As a visitor, you notice this diversity in everyday interactions, food options, and services throughout the city. It gives Doha a global atmosphere rather than a purely local identity. For many travelers, this mix of cultures becomes one of the most interesting and memorable parts of the experience, showing how international the city truly is in its daily functioning. 3. Public life feels calm and controlled. Doha is widely known for being safe, orderly, and stable, and this is immediately reflected in public life. Streets are clean, traffic is well managed, and serious disruptions are rare compared to many large global cities. As a result, the overall atmosphere feels calm and controlled, even during busy hours. Many visitors notice this sense of quiet efficiency almost immediately after arriving. This environment is shaped by a combination of cultural expectations and structured systems that guide how public spaces are used. People generally move through the city in an organized way, and public behavior tends to follow clear norms. The result is a city that feels secure and predictable, where daily life flows smoothly without the chaos often found in older, more densely packed urban centers. 2. Constant development is part of the identity. Doha is not a city that remains static for long. It is constantly evolving, expanding, and reshaping itself through ongoing development projects. New roads, districts, buildings, and national initiatives regularly change parts of the urban landscape. Because of this continuous growth, the city can feel slightly different each time you visit. Areas that were under construction in the past may now be fully developed, while new projects begin elsewhere. This creates a sense that Doha is always in motion, never fully complete, and always working toward its next stage of development. Unlike cities with a fixed historical layout, Doha feels dynamic and forward-looking, where change is not occasional but a permanent and expected part of how the city exists and functions over time. 1. The boom is real, but it's only one layer of the city. At first glance, Doha looks like a straightforward success story. Rapid development, modern infrastructure, luxury tourism, and global recognition. And all of that is true. But underneath that surface is a more complex reality. It's a city shaped by fast growth, international labor, structured systems, and carefully managed development. Tourists usually see the most polished version, the skyline, the hotels, the malls, and the waterfront areas. But the full picture includes both that visible success and the working city that supports it. Doha is not just a boom. It's a city still evolving, balancing modern ambition with structure, diversity, and constant change. Doha's growth is real, visible, and impressive. But like many fast-developing cities, what you see at first glance is only part of the story. The deeper reality is a mix of rapid development, structured systems, diverse communities, and ongoing transformation. Understanding both sides gives a more accurate picture of what the city truly is today, not just what it looks like in highlight reels or skyline shots. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to subscribe for more realistic, story-driven explorations of cities and places around the world.